Okay, so are you ready to dive into one of history's biggest head-scratchers?
I'm ready. Hit me with it.
All right, Jim Jones and the People's Temple. Visionary leader,
Yeah.
master manipulator.
Oh, man. Where do we even start with that one?
Right. On grifter or gifted, that's what we try to unpack.
Totally.
And with Jim Jones, I mean, talk about a story.
It's a wild one for sure.
So we've got articles, research, all that to try and figure this guy out.
Yeah, we've got a lot to dig through.
Let's rewind all the way back to the beginning.
Okay, back to the beginning.
Indiana, 1931, Jim Jones is born.
Okay.
Even as a kid, from what I read, he was fascinated by good versus evil,
Interesting.
especially when it came to leadership.
Makes you wonder, right?
It does.
Yeah.
Like, was this darkness always there?
Yeah.
Or did things happen along the way?
Hard to say.
But then you look at who he was interested in, even as a teenager.
Oh, yeah. Like who?
Gandhi, Hitler, Stalin. I mean, talk about a range.
Yeah, he was looking at some pretty intense figures.
He wasn't just reading about them, he was analyzing them.
Oh, wow. Like their methods and stuff?
Yeah. Strengths, weaknesses, almost like building a playbook.
That's kind of creepy when you think about it.
Totally. And it's not like he just kept all this to himself.
What do you mean?
The guy starts preaching, like, as a teenager,
Get out of here.
mixing social justice with this, like, undeniable charisma.
So he was a natural then. Like, some people just have it.
Right. Was it always there?
It's impossible to know for sure, I guess.
But he understood how to get people on his side.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, you can say that again.
And that becomes the basis for the People's Temple,
Okay. The People's Temple.
which he founded in 1955. Now, think about America back then.
Oh, yeah. Intense racial segregation.
And here's Jones, preaching this radical equality,
Interesting.
attracting this super diverse group of followers.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just about sermons and stuff.
So what else was he offering?
Healthcare, social programs, legal help.
Wow, that's a lot.
It was. He was building this whole community.
And these people, they depended on him for everything.
Right. It was like a world within a world.
It's kind of brilliant when you think about it.
Yeah, and he was smart about how he built it.
What do you mean?
Think about those bus trips he organized.
I've read about those, yeah.
Crisscrossing the country, taking this message of communal living,
To everyone.
especially people who felt like outsiders.
They were looking for something.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
But then things get dark.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
The demand for total loyalty, isolating people from their families.
Classic cult tactics.
Right. And then the supernatural stuff starts.
He was claiming to have powers and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Faith healing, telepathy, the whole 9 yards.
So was he really a gifted guy?
Well, a lot of people say it was staged.
Like fake miracles?
Yeah. And using stuff people told him in confidence.
So not so much about faith, but about control.
Exactly. And it gets worse.
Oh, no.
He sets up this planning committee,
Okay.
basically his enforcers. Yikes.
Followers had to give up all their money
Serious.
and work only for the temple.
This is not sounding good.
This wasn't community anymore.
It was something else.
Something way darker. And the paranoia got really bad.
What happened?
Reports of abuse started coming out.
Like physical abuse.
Yeah, and emotional abuse, too. Anyone who questioned him,
Got punished.
punished. Families were torn apart. Dissent was silenced.
So he was using all those manipulation tactics he studied?
Like he was putting them into practice.
That's terrifying.
So now, he's got legal problems in Indiana,
Things are catching up to him.
big time. So he packs up the whole temple.
The entire thing.
Yeah, first to Ukiah, California,
Okay.
then to this super remote settlement in Guyana.
Guyana.
Yeah, Jonestown.
That's a turning point, right?
It was. He talked about building a utopia.
A safe haven from the outside world.
Yeah. But really, he was isolating them even more.
Solidifying his control.
Exactly. And in this isolated place, things got even worse. Oh no, worse than before.
Way worse. Strict rules, these terrifying white knights.
When are white nights?
Surprise drills for mass suicide.
You're kidding, right?
I'm not. The psychological pressure was immense.
I bet. To live in a place where you can't question anything.
And then everything changed. Congressman Leo Ryan shows up.
Where's that?
He went to Jonestown to investigate the abuse allegations.
He wanted to find out the truth.
Yeah, but it turned into chaos.
What happened?
Temple members opened fire at the airstrip.
They shot at him.
Yeah, they killed Ryan and several others.
Oh my God. That's awful.
It was. Jonestown wasn't a utopia anymore.
It was a nightmare.
And then came the mass suicide. Over 900 people,
Including children.
many of them children. drinking cyanide-laced Flavor Aid
On Jones's orders.
on his orders. It's hard to imagine that level of fear.
It's one of history's most shocking events, that's for sure.
So here's the question. Was Jim Jones a visionary, corrupted by power?
Or was he always a con man?
It's a tough one to answer.
Yeah, definitely not a simple answer.
We need to look at his whole life to really understand.
Absolutely. There's a lot more to uncover.
And that's what we'll do in the next part of our deep dive.
I can't wait to get into it. You know, it's hard to believe, but even after everything that happened, some people still see Jonestown as this, like, place of pilgrimage.
Seriously?
Yeah, they see Jones as this misunderstood leader.
It's just wow.
And now there's talk of turning it into a tourist attraction.
A tourist attraction?
Yeah, you know, like learn from the past.
So it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, exactly. But is that really what it would become?
I mean, is that even possible?
It's a good question. Some say by visiting Jonestown, people would understand how this could happen.
Like a warning sign.
Yeah, against blind faith.
And charismatic leaders.
Right. But others, especially survivors and families of the victims.
Yeah, I can see their side.
They see it as exploitation.
Using tragedy to make money.
Exactly. They think it'll become this morbid spectacle.
Instead of a place for reflection.
Exactly. And on top of that, there are logistical challenges.
Oh, right. Jonestown is pretty remote.
Deep in the jungle.
Not easy to get to.
Not at all. A 6-mile trek through rough terrain.
To even get close.
And then you need a boat or a plane.
Sounds like a nightmare.
It's not your average tourist destination.
So who wants this to happen?
Well, the government's tourism authority.
Oh, wow.
And the Tourism and Hospitality Association.
Okay, so they see it as a moneymaker.
They think it'll bring in tourists and revenue.
But even then, there are concerns.
Big time.
I mean, just getting Jonestown ready for tourists?
It'll cost a fortune.
All that infrastructure.
And who knows if it'll even be profitable.
With all the sensitivity around it.
And how many people would actually go?
Not many, I bet.
Probably not. And there's another thing.
What's that?
There's this guy, Fielding McGehee.
Okay.
He co-directs the Jonestown Institute.
Which is?
A nonprofit that researches the People's Temple.
Got it.
And he's pointed out something important.
What's that?
Relying on just witness accounts is risky.
Yeah, memories fade.
Stories change over time.
It's like a game of telephone. The truth gets lost.
Exactly. And with Jonestown, accuracy is so important.
It's a complex story.
Extremely. And then there's the question of the message.
Of the tourist attraction.
Yeah, like what would it focus on?
Good point.
Would it be about the social justice work?
The early stuff.
Yeah, or the sense of community?
Which drew people in.
Exactly. Or would it be more about the sensational stuff?
The cult aspects.
Yeah, the control, the paranoia, the suicide.
How do you find the balance?
Right.
Between education and exploitation?
That's a tough one for sure.
Super tough. Right now, Jonestown is abandoned.
Reclaimed by the jungle.
Yeah, all that's left are remnants.
Like what?
A rusty tractor, pieces of the pavilion, a brick and mill.
Haunting.
It really is a place frozen in time.
But for some people,
It's more than that.
it's a place of mourning.
Where they lost loved ones.
To imagine losing someone there and then seeing it become a tourist spot.
It's heartbreaking.
There's this survivor, Jordan Vilches.
Coke.
She was only 14 when she was brought there.
Wow, just a kid.
And she's talked about how she feels about it all.
What does she say?
She gets the wanting to learn from the past,
Yeah,
but she also sees the potential for pain.
makes sense.
When she went back to Guyana
When was that?
in 2018, her first time back,
Wow.
she made this offering to the land.
Really? Like what?
She buried pieces of her parents' hair.
That's powerful.
They didn't make it out of Jonestown.
Oh, wow.
It was her way of finding closure
To honor their memory.
in a way that felt right for her.
It's such a delicate balance.
Between remembering and exploiting,
Learning but not causing harm.
how do we make sure the victims aren't forgotten?
That their stories are told with respect.
But that we also learn from it all.
It's a huge question.
It goes beyond just Jonestown.
What do you mean?
Think about other dark tourism sites.
Like what?
Auschwitz, Chernobyl, the 9/11 Memorial.
All those places grapple with the same thing.
Trying to educate but not sensationalize.
It's a tough line to walk.
There are no easy answers.
It comes down to intent, right?
Absolutely. And execution.
If Jonestown does become a tourist attraction,
That has to be done carefully.
with sensitivity,
The focus needs to be on remembrance,
education, and preventing future tragedies.
not on making a spectacle.
Yeah, that wouldn't be right.
It's crazy, right? We started this deep dive and I was like, okay, Jim Jones, we've all heard the basics.
Yeah.
But then you start digging in and it's just layer after layer.
Absolutely. It's rarely black and white with these kinds of figures.
It really makes you think, like, how can you even tell?
Tell what?
Like, genuine desire to change things versus just wanting power.
It's a big question, right?
Was the People's Temple just a stepping stone for Jones?
You mean to get what he really wanted?
Yeah. Or did power corrupt him? Like, was he good at first?
Yeah, was it a slippery slope?
Exactly. I mean, there's no question the guy had charisma. Oh, tons of it. He could really connect with people.
Make them feel like they belonged.
Yeah, like they had a purpose. And back then, in the 50s and 60s...
Civil rights movement, everything changing.
His message of equality would have resonated.
Big time. But then, something shifted.
It went sideways, didn't it?
Yeah, his message got twisted up.
By his own paranoia, probably.
And the need for control, that community he built.
Which was good at first.
Right. It became like a prison.
Controlled by fear.
It's scary because it reminds you that anyone can fall.
Even the most charismatic leaders.
Even people who say all the right things.
Yeah, they can crave power just like anyone else.
It makes you realize we got to be careful.
Question everything.
Especially authority. Looking back, there were signs.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Demanding loyalty, isolating people.
And those supernatural claims.
It's easier to see it now, though.
Hindsight, right?
But for those people, caught up in it all.
Yeah, they wanted to believe.
It's what Jones was so good at.
Exploiting their vulnerabilities.
Promising them a better world.
It's the heart of what we talk about on the show.
Grifter or gifted? How do we know?
When we're bombarded with so much information.
Who's the real deal? And who's just using us?
It takes work.
Real work.
You gotta look beyond the surface.
Like their motives.
Question their actions. It's on us, really.
To see things clearly.
Yeah, make informed choices.
So Jim Jones, the People's Temple, it's a dark story.
Super dark.
But I hope it makes people think.
More aware.
Yeah, don't just take things at face value.
Question everything.
Especially those who say they have all the answers.
Because the line between good and bad.
Visionary and con artist.
It can be blurry.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
It's been intense.
We'll see you next time on Grifter or Gifted.